Well, good morning, everybody. How are we doing today? Good. Recaffeinated? Yeah, early in the morning? Good. Because some of what I'm going to talk about can be hard to hear. Not because it's offensive, but because it might be relatable. Um, Obviously, I am not a public speaker much. I do some podcasts, I do some things like that, but talking in front of a group of people like this is not something I usually do, so please forgive me for a little nervousness or a little stuttering. And while I could spend our time together and give you a book report on the history of punk, which we will be touching on a little bit, but mostly I want to give context and parallel as to why I'm standing in front of you today. Instead, I would rather give you examples of how you might be more punk rock than you think. My name is Eric. My hope here is by the end of this, you are inspired to reject life's lemons and make something better for yourself entirely. I am going to be talking about how someone calling me a punk changed the course of my life. So, once a punk, always a punk. Reject life's lemons and thank me in the morning. So, why am I here? Who am I? Well, my Instagram account is PNW Punk, so I'm guessing that was my foot in the door when they were figuring out how to fit the June slot. Okay, so here we go. I was born and raised here in Kitsap County. I grew up in Bremerton, and my mother was preoccupied with substance abuse and would later become a victim of the fentanyl crisis. And my father started a new family a couple blocks away. Ooh. And like many children in my position, we're often taken into the care of our grandparents, those of us who are lucky enough to have them. Lacking many friends or direction, I actually turned to church. The idea of acceptance and community and unconditional love at the time was very alluring. However, and I'm not speaking to all churches here, but the one that I went to specifically didn't line up, and it was very much a do as I say and not as I do. The words just didn't resonate, and I felt kind of alienated. And I said, you know what? This also is not going to be for me. Nothing against religion. We're not doing that. This, coupled with the lack of parental guidance, taught me to be prepared for a life of difficulty and disappointment. It was safer that way for me. And when your parents are not solid role models, you have a pretty clear roadmap of how not to live your life. As time went on, I took the watch others touch the stove approach, and contrary to statistics of people who were raised like me, this taught me to stay away from substance and a fundamental sense of right and wrong. I know what it's like to feel overlooked, so I will not overlook others. I know what it's like to feel small, so I will do what I can to make others feel seen. I know what it's like to fend for yourself, so I will stand up for those who cannot. And these are not choices. This is how I make right by what I've lacked growing up. And later in life, this will require therapy. So, why am I called punk? Why am I here? When we are in our early years, we often have a naive sense of confidence. We are louder and more abrasive. And keeping in mind how I raised myself, you can imagine I had a loud mouth and a heart full of spite. I got the nickname Punk because after an altercation I had with another individual about an argument, and it was a hill that I was going to die on. I'm not backing down from this. A friend of mine reached out to them and says, hey, why does this person live rent-free in your head? Why do you feel you need to go around and badmouth them? And he said, he is a punk, always was a punk, and always will be a punk. And in that moment, something clicked when he told me. And I said, you know what, I like the sound of that. I like the sound of that. And then I decided, you know what, I'm going to own that. To be whatever you say that I am, and be whatever you need me to be. And I will be your mirror. If I'm your friend, then I will be your friend. If you decide that I'm going to be your adversary, then I'm going to make myself worthy of being your adversary. Fluid like water. To change direction is needed when needed. And speaking of therapy, this is known as a defense mechanism. So where does the punk part come in, and how is it relevant? Well, this is where we're going to talk about what punk is, its ethos, and its branding. Punk is an attitude, an ethos. It is the hot, passionate sound of the human spirit screaming out against a cold, uncaring world that would constrain and commodify it. Punk is raw, it's loud, and unapologetic. At its core, punk is a rejection of the mainstream and refusal to conform. It is a subculture that thrives on individualism, rebellion, and DIY ethics. Whether in music, fashion, or activism, punk is about challenging authority and embracing authenticity. And that's the most important part, is authenticity. Pure, unfiltered, raw authenticity. No matter what somebody tells you you need to be doing, if it doesn't feel right, you're not doing it. You're going to stand on business. Punk is actually the voice of the disenfranchised. Punk has always been about giving a voice to the unheard. The Clash's White Riot called for unity amongst oppressed communities. Punk's ideologies embraces anti-racism, gender equality, and class struggle. I don't know if you guys have been reading the news or have turned on any kind of social media lately, but you're kind of seeing some stuff, right? Many punk movements have fought against corporate greed, systemic oppression, and social injustice. Like I said, the last couple of months have been pretty spicy for a lot of people. And instead of waiting around for politicians to fix things, punk communities build their own support systems, advocating for mutual aid and grassroots activism. I don't know if you guys remember this in the wake of George Floyd, but it really awoke a lot of people in what was important to them. Punk has always been a middle finger to authority, but not just for the sake of rebellion. It's about resisting control when governments overstep their bounds. Throughout history, punk has challenged governments that manipulate, suppress, or exploit people. Whether it's mass surveillance, corporate lobbying, or policies that silence dissent, punk has and always will stand against it. Today, punk's ideologies still drive protests from anti-fascism to workers' rights. Punk proves that you do not need permission to take action. It's about doing it yourself now, without waiting for authority to approve it. And that part's really important for me. The part where if someone tells you no, or if someone's gonna just wait a little bit. No. I'm doing it now. I'm tired of waiting around, and I'm tired of waiting for other people to dictate how my life is gonna run. So that's what punk is, and now we're going to talk about what to do. Excuse me. So here's how the parallels of my being raised and what punk is and how those two meet. I've always had a passion for art, photography, cinematography, and marketing. Having my perspective and eye for marketable aesthetics, I felt my strengths would be best placed in that field. However, when you come up in poverty, and schooling is often unattainable. So marketing jobs, they want degrees, and when you don't have degrees, those jobs are completely unobtainable. You're not considered, you're overlooked, and you're like, sorry, that's not for you. Actually, my last job, I even tried to prove to them that I was better suited for their communications department, but they felt that my talents were better suited for manual labor. So, that's the wrong one. There it is. Strong man, lift heavy rock. So with my newfound nickname, Punk, I turned it into an opportunity to sell merch and started a brand and personality, PNW Punk, which is how I got the name, where the Instagram account came from. And how I use this to travel and tour the country and enjoy my hobby. And that hobby was airsoft. I don't know, does anybody know what airsoft is? A couple people? Right. So it's basically like Call of Duty, but you get to do it in real life. Get to run around, shoot other people's kids, and parents sign waivers, and they're like, that's cool, you can do that. And they're like, which is like insane to me, that parents are like, yeah, you can shoot my kids, that's great. I'm like, awesome. So this allowed me, selling t-shirts, selling patches, selling things like that, that allowed me to fund somebody who had no money to travel the country and do what I want to do and do what I love and make myself feel joy. Also, if someone insults you, this is, mind you, somebody called me a punk. So if somebody insults you, figure out a way to make money on it. Right? That's like the best revenge that you could ever do. If someone's like, you're this, and be like, give me a minute.
Brian Bosworth.
Yep. Is money the most important thing? No. In fact, punk is very anti-money, we don't need that stuff, But money is a resource, and getting resources off of somebody else's words tickles me. So insulting somebody is easy and usually comes from a place of ignorance. Making money off of somebody's ignorance is deeply satisfying. I may be what you need me to be, but that doesn't mean I won't take advantage of it and turn it into an opportunity. With this branding, I was able to secure a laundry list of sponsors, from local pro shops to internationally recognized companies, all of which reached out to me. I'm very proud to say that. I never reached out to anybody to extend or broadcast my reach. They saw something in me. I wasn't making YouTube videos. I wasn't asking you to like, share, and subscribe. They found something in me that they felt was, hey, we like you, we want to use you for what we have. And when it comes back to what we were talking about, the acceptance of wanting to go to church, this was appealing to me because, as somebody who doesn't have or was overlooked, you're like, oh, wow, I'm being shown something, They were looking for authenticity, and I was wearing it on my sleeve. And that was like a milestone. Look what I made from an insult just to say that I did. And some years later, I would actually drop every single one of those sponsors. Because at the end of the day, my role was to help sell my products. I wanted to market and not be marketed. Because I decided I'm worth more than a 10% off coupon code off someone else's website. And I wanted to focus on my art and my merch and continue doing things my way. Fortunately, though, while I was still sponsored and doing all those things, I was doing it my way, but at the end of the day, I'm not, you are not, I don't want people to make money off of me. So after some time after that, I started what I can only describe now as a borderline cult called the Slaughter Project. The Slaughter Project started off as an homage to Kitsap County, which used to be called Slaughter County. Did anybody know that? No? Okay. Before Kitsap County was called Kitsap County, it was actually called Slaughter County. A lot of, there's breweries, there's different businesses that have used slaughter in Kitsap County, and that is where it comes from.
After a person, not...
Yeah, after a person, not after an act, or a devastating, you know what I mean?
He was a captain, Army. I think he was actually a Civil War.
Something like that, yeah.
Little to do with our history.
PNW Punk was meant to put my region on the map. I'm proud of where I'm from. I'm proud of the Pacific Northwest. It's my home. I love everything about it. I love everything that it provides, and I love what it is. The same way people from California love SoCal. That's your home. You're proud of it. Slaughter was meant to put my hometown on the map. That's where it started. That's what I wanted. And so using what I did in punk, where I was selling merch and patches and little things like that, I made slaughter patches, right? No, cool, I lost my spot. This was nothing at the time. This was just, hey, Kitsap County, I'm going to sell some stuff, and I'm going to continue funding my journey around the country and maybe the world someday. Who knows? So I started taking this more seriously after, like I had said before, I tried to get in the communications department of my last place of employment, and I tried 3, 4 times, submitted my application, and every time, no, you're not what we're looking for. So I said, you know what? This is growing. People more and more are starting to want to buy these patches. How can I get them? So this is my key out of here. This is my key out of the labor market. And while at the time it was devastating that I was rejected, because nobody wants to be told no. We want to feel like we're good enough for a job that we're applying for. And after a while, this was devastating, but ultimately it's something I'm grateful for, So what punk was originally was a way to get that anger and repression out of me. And it was like a personality. You're getting this person, you're coming to an event, oh, it's punk, PNW Punk's here, But Slaughter, I wanted to take a step back and remove the personality from it, and I wanted it to be an idea. Because people can get behind an idea, not necessarily a person, because a person can let you down, an idea can move past that. Let's see here. Now, Slaughter has a community-cultivated ethos. This is not something that I came up with. This is not a message that I'm pushing. This is something that my community has told me what it means to them, and I have cultivated an ethos around it. To inspire those who love what they do to reach their apex of being. Everyone who participates in this project shares something in common with one another, and understanding that you are not limited to your own expectations. It is not for clout or recognition. You do what you love to prove your own expectations wrong and nothing else. Now, the Slaughter brand is in 20 plus countries around the world. If I said I haven't walked through a crowd of people at events around the country feeling like Tyler Durden from Fight Club, I'd be lying to you. The community I've cultivated is self-regulating. It will not stand for being taken advantage of. I've on multiple occasions have worked with other businesses and event series to do custom colorways. One of the alluring things is that we'll do different style patches, different art styles, different colorways. Different artists from around the world will help with these. And so for like some of these things, I'll do custom colorways for them, but a couple of them decided that they were going to sell them for aftermarket or secondhand prices, and I'll get into that in a minute. But the community said, no, we don't like that. I don't like being taken advantage of, because these things aftermarket go for big money, actually. And they were trying to sell them for big money, and now they're no longer in business because the community said, we're not being taken advantage of. You're not gonna do that to us. And I'm proud of the community that I've built to recognize that. Young adults to not be taken advantage of or overlooked. So they're under now. They're no longer businesses because they took advantage of people. Now the project has inspired others to grow their own brands and communities from Los Angeles to the European Union. There have been countless other brands. I won't call them copycats. I'll call them my children. Because they came from what happened with what I was doing. Nobody was doing what I was doing in this community before, and I'm very proud that other people are making money and doing what they love based off of this whole scenario. So the biggest irony of this is that I've been trying to work in marketing, and I haven't been able to get a job in marketing, and now companies from the US, Taiwan, and Japan want to work with my project to collaborate on limited product releases, and yet I'm still an undesirable candidate for employment. So that makes me feel kind of good that I'm still in my pocket. So these patches actually sell for about $24.99 a pop, and they usually sell out in minutes, maybe hours. And have a resale value of up to $100 to $500. So that's pretty cool. Now, I will not raise my price. I will not meet that $500, like, oh, I can get more money. No, that's not about that. The people that buy these, trade them, collect them, it's their value. I will not tell them what it's worth. And people have legitimately sold their patches to get out of medical debt, which is like Such an awesome feeling. Let's see. Last July, we had a house fire, and we lost everything. And the community rallied behind myself and my wife, and they held charity events. They held individual donations. This hat is actually one of the items that was charitied off and raised for my wife and I, and they raised the sum of about $15,000 for us. And it blows me away, you know, and it's been a really hard, trying time. And through this difficult time, I've been sent heartfelt letters and DMs from players and even parents telling me what the project has meant to them. And mothers and fathers have reached out to me about how the slaughter has given them something to enjoy together. And I don't know if anybody who's got teenagers or anything like that, sometimes it's kind of hard to connect with them and figure out how to navigate that. So to me, you know, when I get messages like that, and the upbringing that I had without lack of parenting, to me that's worth more than any award or sponsorship or money that can, you know, can come. That to me is just the best. And you know, this last year has probably been the biggest test of my life. And but when I'm thinking about what I've told you, growing up alone and without direction, having a community that refused to let you fail is just a 180 from where we started. And so that really goes to show that you don't have to settle for lemonade. You know? And all of this because somebody decided they wanted to call me a punk. So my name is Eric, and it's been a pleasure speaking with you this morning, and thank you for your time.